Welcome back to BLOCKTV. It's time now for Links in the Chain. And when it comes to the crypto industry, the issue of security is forefront in the mind of most crypto holders. With scams, frauds and theft rampant in the industry, the issue of what trends are occurring and a manner in which they occur is critical, and good information can be hard to find. Fortunately, we have with us a company that works to solve a number of these issues and has just released a new report on US crypto users. And I'd like to welcome Brandon Brown, founder at Noble Insurance. Brandon, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Asher.
Absolute pleasure. So according to your latest report, cybercrime has risen by about 300% year on year and since 2017 and remains on an upward trajectory, rising to around 355% a year, year on year in June 2019. Were you surprised by this finding? Do you expect this trajectory to continue even further into the future?
Yeah, I think the statistic is very alarming. But if the past is indicative of the future and we don't do anything to actively change this outcome, then I would expect it to continue. But through education, community awareness, and the whole ecosystem working together to educate, I think that we can turn those tides, and it won't be what you normally would think of as a typical trajectory. I think we can slow that trend and make some real progress if we work together.
Are there any specific sort of goals and aims that you'd lay out that you think are critical to making some of those changes? Just, I mean, without getting too bogged down in the details, but just sort of some overarching trends that you could see turning it around.
Well, I think it starts a lot with the education, right? So if we promote education and we create smarter and more wise consumers that make better buying decisions. So, we know that if we can create the awareness in the market that we're going to take an industry and a community that right now is oftentimes in the dark. And if we create that awareness, we can, and let them know all the good and the bad about the industry, we make them feel more comfortable. And we know that if we can promote education at the exchange level, I think that's where it really starts. So, and I don't just mean the exchanges though, but I mean the entire ecosystem surrounding the exchanges. I think from the insurance companies to the media, to portfolio managers, lending platforms, analytic tools. So we all have something to gain by banding together to educate, including the consumer, because consumers don't buy what they don't understand. So I think we have to start with education and really push that agenda forward.
Certainly. And on that topic, your research did find that the vast majority of crypto investors really do have very little understanding of the scale of crypto crimes, with, according to your own statistics, 64% either not knowing how much has been hacked or believe it's a relatively modest amount, under $50 million a year, not the actual amount of around $1 billion. Do you believe people will be more inclined to take insurance for their crypto assets if they knew the scale of the sort of crimes and frauds being undertaken within the industry?
Yeah, I certainly do. And it's less about what I think and more about what the research is showing us. And we know that people today, when they have a very, they think it's low, right? But if you have an understanding of the actual amount of crime that is existing in the industry today, you see people become very concerned about it. And I think what a telling piece of that is that those who exclusively use cold storage, 87% are more likely to use an exchange if insurance is made available. It's the value proposition of the exchange is ease of use, right? So if we create this path of least resistance, you make them feel safe, even the most risk-averse come out and play. And I think it tells the story of a very important role that individual cryptocurrency insurance is going to play in the market for mass adoption. I think that's an important piece, because if you can get the most risk-averse to come out of the dark, that's what it takes to get the general population out too. They need to be made to feel safe. And if they're made to feel safe, they'll start to adopt and will move this trend forward.
Certainly an important step, as you keep saying. That education mantra is very important. As well, though, I want to ask a little bit about the report itself. We've been talking about some of the findings of it, but could you tell us a little bit about some of the methodology you employed and how exactly you were able to get this critical information to help drive data in the sphere forward?
Sure. So first it started in August. Well, it started ways back before that. We issued in August. But what we did was we went out and we searched through, we used the best methodology, because we know to get a quantitative sample, you can't just get 10 people or 15 or, we wanted to get a large amount. So we first started with a survey of just over 1,000 people. And then after we did that, and that was an online survey, and then we wanted to validate those numbers. So we went to an omnibus best methodology for telephone survey, and we're able to take those, and we asked very unique questions and very specific to our industry so that we could really come out with some information that would be valuable that we could put out to the market so that everyone would understand what the ecosystem and what everybody is feeling and where the pain points are at. And so it was really important for us to get valuable information. So we wanted to make sure we always validated our research and never just made sure that, because at one point the research came out so strong in favor of insurance that I almost didn't want to believe it. And so I made our team go back and, because we commissioned this report, and I said, do it again with a larger sample size, double the sample size so that we can actually get an accurate number, because it was so strong in favor of insurance and the way people were, needing this in order to promote adoption that I didn't want to rely on it. Mm-hmm. It just felt too good to be true at one point.
Well, certainly it's critical to take those extra steps to get the good data in this space. As we both agree here, there's a bit of a black hole when it comes to the information of really what's happening on the day-to-day level. But speaking of that, I mean, you mentioned the fact that it comes out so strongly on the side of insurance, and yet it's still a lacking element for so many within the crypto sphere, having to rely on some less than industry standard measures in a lot of cases. So do you expect insurance policies to become standard service in exchanges in the future when it comes to crypto transactions?
Yeah, I mean, I expect, third-party insurance companies to interact with exchanges, because I think you're going to see it very similar to what you would expect in the vacation rental market, where there's an uninterrupted customer journey from buying crypto on the exchange to buying insurance to going right back to making your first trade on the exchange. I think that is, where you're going to see the future of insurance is trending toward these individual insurance policies where individuals are controlling the outcome. Because right now we don't know, the nuances of every exchange insurance, or what this exchange has or what that exchange has, or whether they even have insurance. So it's a very difficult thing. So we have to control that from the individual level. And due to the decentralized nature of cryptocurrency and the exchanges, it's going to take a lot of the guesswork out. If we have a simple, straightforward policy that's readily available, that takes the guesswork out for the individual, and that's going to create more adoption if we have insurance available.
That's an interesting element you just addressed there, that decentralized nature of crypto, making it a little bit of a different market in terms of insurance to the standard financial assets sort of industry there. Because in a lot of ways, it puts the onus on the individual to ensure that they are being insured. But you do have those relative bottlenecks of exchanges and whatnot. Do you anticipate the future market being an individually focused insured market, or do you think it can be done via the larger, more registered exchanges when it comes to crypto?
Well, I think that I think that the registered exchanges that we know today can certainly get commercial crime policies as an added level of protection. But as we move between exchanges as a consumer, we can't always keep on top of what the exchanges are doing today or what nuances their insurance policy has. So I think that it's important that we have individual policies that we can control, and those policies have to be simple, straightforward, and really to the point on what they're going to cover. And that's where I think the future of insurance is going, is to individuals controlling their own insurance policies. Because like we just discussed, the idea of the decentralized nature of exchanges and cryptocurrency, it's a different type of market that is not what we've ever seen before. And so we can't typically look at it from the standard position of what we know for traditional insurance to cover. Traditional insurance is not gonna fill the void that we need today from a corporate standpoint. We need to control it on an individual level.
All right, so then going full circle there, I mean, talking about that individual level, you mentioned earlier the importance of education and how to promote that. Can you delve a little bit more into the details of what you at Noble Insurance think is critical in terms of educating individuals on the way that they utilize their cryptocurrencies and the crypto markets as a whole?
Well, I mean, of course, I mean, right now we know that the majority of people are using exchanges. And exchanges is a great way to interact with cryptocurrency, because what we know today is that it's the path of least resistance, and that's what people are going to gravitate toward, just human nature, right? But I wouldn't say everybody should keep everything that they have on an exchange, right? We know that cold storage is the safest and most secure. And so I don't think, if you think of like a checking account and a savings account, right? I make a lot of activities on my checking account, and I make very few on my savings account. So I think we have to look at them and separate assets as to how we're going to use them. But from a promotion of education and promotion of security, I think the media can play a role in that too. Because when a hack occurs, it's not just a loss of funds, it's also plays a psychological effect on all of us. And so I think that, if you look at it from that perspective, the media can move forward the security agenda, because just by talking about the hacks, it drives a lot of attention to the hackers. And I think that they feed on that, it fuels them. So if we look at the media driving forward the agenda of vigilance and self-security, I think that's a good place to start. As well as giving attention to the exchanges that deserve it and calling out those who don't.
And certainly an important element to address. And in speaking of that, looking forward, you guys have just released this fascinating report, but anything else in the pipeline at Noble Insurance you're looking to, any projects you're looking to bring on board?
Right now we're focusing a lot on the individual crypto exchange insurance policy that we're bringing forward, the hot wallet policy. That for us is the most exciting endeavor that we're looking at right now. So we're expecting to launch end of 19 or beginning of 2020. So that's really exciting for us, and we look forward to it.
Yeah, certainly good to have more products available on the market for those looking to keep secure with their crypto. It's a dangerous game out there, and people need to make sure they're well protected. In the meantime, I want to thank you, Brandon Brown, founder at Noble Insurance, for coming on the show and talking to us a little bit about your report and what's being offered there at Noble Insurance. Thanks so much for joining us on BLOCKTV, and stay with us at blocktv.com for all the latest in news and information. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.